Welcome to MovieNest. Let's dive into today's mind-blowing film. That night changed S.E. Roy's life forever. The real criminals drank and laughed, unaware that the pain they caused had only just begun. The next day, things got worse. Roy was expelled. His father, his only family, lost his job. With what little savings he had, the old man opened a tiny restaurant. It wasn't much, but it was honest work. Sua, warm and kind, visited often. Her quiet support was the only light in their growing darkness. Then came the blow that broke everything. Roy's father, delivering food, was killed in a hit-and-run. The driver, Ganan, John Won's brother. No apology, no justice, just a settlement offer, like they could buy Roy's silence. It was disgusting. Sua later uncovered the truth. She saw a photo of the car, and the license plate matched. The tycoon family had paid someone to take the fall. That night, Roy found John Won in a hospital garden. Grief turned to rage. He tackled him, ready to strike with a rock, until Sua ran in, begging him to stop. Through her tears, she reminded Roy of who he was, of the pride his father had in him. He was arrested. In prison, the nightmare got worse. The tycoon family framed him further, bought off the police, and even paid prisoners to beat him. Still, Roy didn't break. Sua visited once, crying. She admitted she betrayed him to pay for school, but Roy just smiled and said, "I still like you. When I get out, I'll find you." 3 years passed. Roy found strength behind bars, mentored by a gangster who taught him patience and power. When he got out, he returned to his father's empty restaurant. There, he made a vow: "I will make them pay." His search for justice led him to Itaewon Street, the place Sua had once written about. During a street festival, he wandered through the crowd and saw her, Sua. She ran to him and hugged him tight. After all these years, they were face to face again. She told him she now worked for the tycoon group. Roy didn't blame her. He simply said he was leaving to work on a ship for 7 years. Roy returned, and so did his promise. On the same Itaewon Street, he opened his dream restaurant, Dan Bam. It was opening day. No customers, but Roy stood tall, proud, and peaceful. He had survived. Across the street from Dan Bam, a group of girls were bullying a student named Yo, fierce and unapologetic. Yo live-streamed the whole thing, and the clip went viral. When the bully's parents showed up later to confront her, S.E. Roy stepped in to defend her. That moment changed something for both of them. Yo was wild, bold, and reminded Roy of his younger self. When he gently asked her to apologize, she smirked and lied. "That woman killed my father." "Just kidding, idiot." She was unpredictable, but there was something about her that stuck. Meanwhile, at Yoonga Group, Ganan pitched the idea of opening a bar on Itaewon Street. Sua opposed it fiercely. Tired of his failures, the chairman slapped Ganan and gave control of the district to Sua. Furious, Ganan lashed out, but Sua hinted the chairman might already be grooming someone else, Yeo's friend, as the true heir. One day, Yeo and Ganan crashed their bike avoiding pedestrians. Roy, nearby handing out flyers, ran over to help. When he recognized Yeo, he fainted from exhaustion. At the hospital, the chairman secretly ordered Sua to sabotage Dan Bam, a brutal test of loyalty, knowing she still cared about Roy. Later, Yeo and her underage friends visited Dan Bam. Roy knew they were minors but let them stay. He needed customers. When a drunk customer insulted him, his employee snapped and hurt the man. The police shut down the restaurant for 2 months. Worse, it was Ganan's doing, and he got away with it because of his family name. Roy was devastated. Ganan taunted him about his father's death, hoping to break him, but Roy stayed composed. He vowed to reopen the case and bring justice. Yeo, watching all this, was moved. She began digging into the truth and visiting Dan Bam daily, even when it was closed. On New Year's Eve, now 18, Yeo went out drinking but couldn't stop thinking about Roy. That night, she was followed by a drunk man and ran into a restroom to hide, where she unexpectedly found Roy. When the man barged in pretending to be her boyfriend, Roy instantly saw through the lie and protected her. They escaped together and ran into Sua. She noticed how Roy cared for Yeo and felt a pang of jealousy. Later, Yeo offered to help promote Dan Bam. When Roy stepped away, Sua and Yeo exchanged sharp words. Sua claimed Roy had loved her for 10 years, but Yeo didn't back down. Yeo soon exposed that it was Sua who reported Dan Bam to the police. Sua confessed, hoping Roy would forgive her, but he was disappointed. That night, a drunk Roy opened up to Yeo. She kissed him, though he didn't remember the next morning. Confused about her feelings, Yeo flipped a coin. Should she stay or move on? It landed on go, but she chose to stay anyway. She ran to Dan Bam and asked to be the manager. Around the same time, Jun-Soo, Yoonga's secret son, joined the team, inspired by Roy's kindness. Yeo quickly proved her worth and was promoted. With her help, Dan Bam got a makeover and began trending online. On opening day, they earned over 3 million won. Yoonga took notice. The chairman asked Sua to marry John Won and ordered her to sabotage Dan Bam. but she hesitated. When customers began complaining about the food, Yoo blamed the chef and asked Roy to fire her, but Roy, ever patient, gave her another chance. Meanwhile, Yoo softened. She apologized to the chef and realized she had unfairly blamed Seo too. One evening, a drunk Seo confessed her love to Roy and nearly kissed him, but Yoo stopped it. She said. Awkward tension followed, but the team stayed focused. During dinner, Seo mentioned franchising, and Roy started dreaming bigger. Yoo and Seo clashed again, both refusing to back down. The chairman learned of Yoo's intelligence and Danbam's growth. Meanwhile, Yoo's mother found out she dropped out of college and kicked her out. Homeless, she turned to Roy, who simply said, "Let's build something bigger than Yoonga." Together, with a promise between them, they began hiring staff. Most weren't the right fit, until one beautiful girl walked in and caught everyone's attention, including Roy's. Yoo turned away one applicant but hired Tony, a half-Polish, half-Korean man with a quiet charm. She believed he could help Danbam grow. Around the same time, Roy had finally secured a big TV interview, until Jongwon pulled strings to cancel it out of jealousy. Hurt, Roy suspected Seo betrayed him, but Yoo told him the truth. Seo had done nothing wrong. Realizing his mistake, Roy ran to apologize and promised to fight the Jenga group to protect her. What nobody knew was that Roy had been buying Jenga shares for years using his father's life insurance. Now, he was their third largest shareholder. When the chairman walked into Danbam, Roy looked him in the eye and revealed the truth. The man who once destroyed his family now faced Roy's quiet, powerful revenge. Roy had Ho Jin, his loyal friend and financial genius, by his side, and they were just getting started. With support from a powerful businesswoman, Roy planned to take Jenga down from the inside. Meanwhile, Jong-Soo, the chairman's ignored son, began questioning his loyalty. Yoo challenged him. If he really wanted her trust, he'd have to steal the company from his father. Roy and Yoo tracked down the retired cop who framed him. Regretful, the man agreed to testify. That night, Yoo saw the pain Roy still carried and made him a promise. "I'll protect you now." But Jenga wasn't done. The landlord suddenly raised Danbam's rent under Chairman Jang's orders. When Roy tried to negotiate, the chairman demanded he kneel. Roy refused and declared war. Seo pleaded for mercy, but was fired instead. Through all this, Roy's team stuck together. Jong-Soo apologized and was forgiven. They shared drinks that night, laughing like family for the first time. Then came another hit. Tony was rejected from a club because of his race. Yoo, furious, exposed it online. The post went viral. People rallied behind Danbam, and Tony returned. Jong-Soo wanted to quit out of guilt, but Roy didn't let him walk away. Roy, overwhelmed, lashed out at Yoo, but she stood her ground. "I'm not leaving," she said. Moved, Roy bought them a new space, despite locals calling it cursed. Yoo transformed it, and Danbam's popularity soared. Even then, Chairman Jang tried to lure Yoo with a massive job offer. She smiled and said, "Maybe, after we beat you." Roy's team launched IC Company, and Danbam was reborn as Itaewon Class. Soon after, Roy admitted feelings for Seo, leaving Yoo silently crushed. The chairman tried bribing the retired cop, but he refused. Then Jongwon tried to trap Yoo, only to fall into her trap. She recorded his confession about Roy's father and posted it online. Jenga's stock crashed overnight. The chairman beat his son in rage. Director Kang joined Roy's team, but before they could celebrate, the retired cop disappeared, frightened by threats and guilt. Roy finally found him. The man's daughter begged him to let her father live in peace. Roy understood and waited. Meanwhile, Jenga fell apart. At a shareholder meeting, Jongwon confessed everything. He got 7 years in prison. Chairman Jang didn't blink. He still wanted Jongwon to run the company, forcing Seo to train him despite her disgust. Back at Danbam, a kitchen mistake turned into a miracle. Tony's accidental curry recipe won a major contest. Investors came running. IC Company raised 10 billion won. The dream was real, but as quickly as it rose, the foundation cracked. Chairman Jang planted fake investors who suddenly demanded massive payouts, trying to bankrupt Danbam. Seo, caught in the crossfire, was sent to deliver a fake congratulations. The pressure was mounting, and through it all, Yoo, heartbroken after Roy called her a little sister, left the team. Alone in the winter cold, her love and loyalty unspoken, she walked away. Now, with everything hanging by a thread, Roy faced the biggest test of his life. Could he protect his people, keep his dream alive, and finally get justice for his father? A lucky accident changed everything. Tony added curry powder by mistake, but the result was a hit. The dish won first prize at a top food competition, instantly putting Danbam in the spotlight. Investors came knocking, and though Roy hesitated, ISO and Ho Jin convinced him it was time to dream bigger. Together, they launched the Itaewon Class franchise and the IC Joint Stock Company, quickly securing over 10 billion won. During this whirlwind, the team rescued an old woman injured in an alley. She turned out to be Tony's long-lost grandmother. Her story of family and separation struck a deep chord, reminding everyone why they were fighting so hard. But not all was well. Yoo, who had quietly loved Roy for years, was heartbroken when he told her he only saw her as a little sister. Crushed, she left, sitting alone on a freezing street, her silence heavier than words. Meanwhile, the Jenga family was unraveling. Chairman Jang, furious over their recent losses, pressured John Won to win the next food competition or give up his inheritance. Desperate, John Won's brother Ganan hatched a cruel scheme, exposed Dan Bam's chef, Ione, as transgender, hoping public prejudice would crush her in the restaurant. The plan worked at first. Headlines exploded. Ione vanished, but S.C. Roy found her hiding in a restroom and gently reminded her, "If you quit now, you're letting them win." She came back, cooked from her heart, and won the competition. Dan Bam's reputation soared. Still, trouble was brewing. Investors suddenly began pulling out, all part of Chairman Jang's hidden sabotage. S.C. Roy's dream was hanging by a thread. Even Seo, caught in the crossfire, could only offer hollow congratulations, another pawn in Jenga's power games. With money running out, Roy faced a room full of panicked store owners. He didn't promise miracles, just trust. "If we don't trust each other, there's nothing left," he said. His words calmed the storm, but inside, he was struggling. Sua offered him a quiet escape, leave the fight, live peacefully with her. For a moment, Roy considered it, but then Yoo called. Her voice, strong and sure, reminded him of everything they'd built. "Don't give up," she said. The next day, she was back, standing beside him once more. They needed a miracle. It came from an unlikely source, Tony's grandmother, a wealthy real estate mogul. She agreed to invest. If Dan Bam won one final competition, Roy accepted the challenge, knowing nothing came easy. Their enemies didn't play fair. Ganan and Jang-Soo exposed Hyone's identity in the media, but with Roy's support, Hyone stood tall and won the crowd, and the judges, back. Dan Bam triumphed. With the win came a 30 billion won investment. The dream was no longer just survival, it was global expansion. Roy was now a serious threat. Ganan blamed Sua for his rise, and tension within Jenga deepened. John Won's brother was growing restless in prison, waiting for his moment to strike back. For years past, S.E. Roy's company flourished. Yoo had become a poised, confident leader. Ganan returned with a big real estate proposal, hoping to win back his father's favor. Meanwhile, John Won was released from prison, but Chairman Jang's health was failing fast. At dinner, S.E. Roy got a call. Ho Jin warned him about getting too close to Yoo, who was now a rival company director. Roy was torn between business and feelings he didn't want to admit. Back at the office, he saw Yoo asleep from exhaustion and gently placed his jacket over her shoulders. He was beginning to see her differently. The next day, Yoo fainted during a shareholders meeting. Without her, the vote went against her appointment as CEO. S.E. Roy rushed to the hospital, torn between business and heart. He bought her a necklace she once admired, but when he arrived to give it, he couldn't do it. He just stood outside, silently, overwhelmed. Meanwhile, Ganan met with a powerful crime boss, dropping a bag of cash. He wanted someone to take S.E. Roy out. At the hospital, S.E. Roy helped with Yeo's work. While sorting her things, he found her diary, filled with drawings and unspoken love. It hit him hard. She had always been there, quietly believing in him. Realizing the truth, S.E. Roy raced back to Yeo's room. At the same moment, she found the necklace he had left behind. Her heart swelled with hope. Finally, she knew he felt the same. Just when things seemed calm, a fake doctor entered Yeo's room, claiming it was time for an injection. Seconds later, chaos erupted. S.E. Roy arrived, but it was too late. Yoo had vanished. A chilling message followed, a photo of Yoo tied up. In a note, "Come alone if you want her alive." Without wasting a second, S.E. Roy dashed into a dark forest to the given location. Sensing danger, Ganan secretly followed him. But just as Roy arrived, Junonian, always plotting, ordered a car to ram him. Roy shoved Ganan out of the way and was thrown off a cliff. Barely alive, Roy faded in and out of consciousness, haunted by one regret. He never told Yoo he loved her. Thankfully, Jun-Soo witnessed the crash and called an ambulance. But Junonian wasn't done. He sent assassins to finish Roy off. Luckily, Ganan alerted Squan just in time. They managed to rescue Roy, but Ganan was captured, and Yoo was still missing. Everyone feared the worst. Then, a former cop on the team discovered CCTV footage confirming the kidnapping. But the kidnappers warned, "Go to the police, and she dies." Squan took the matter into his own hands. Meanwhile, John Won was torturing captives, threatening Yoo. She played the part of a frightened girl, but deep down, she was waiting for the right moment. She broke free, just as Squan confronted the man who had ordered the kidnapping. When words failed, fists spoke. Squan called in the police, taking them all down. While ESO worked tirelessly to free Yoo, S.E. Roy recovered and rejoined the rescue. But before they could escape, the gang surrounded them. ESO grabbed a shovel, Ganon picked up a metal bar. "On three!" ESO yelled, then dropped the shovel and bolted, leaving Ganon to fight alone. The gang leader nearly finished Ganon, but Jun Onion hesitated. Somewhere deep down, he still saw his brother. They sped off after Yeo, who was sprinting through a field, gang members closing in. Yeo ran for her life. Just as a car lunged toward her, SC Roy arrived, slamming into the enemy's vehicle. The crash was brutal, but Roy and Yeo survived. She ran into his arms, trembling. Seconds later, Ganon and the boss arrived. Roy begged them to let it go, for old time's sake. The boss refused. Squan stayed behind to buy them time, facing the gang in a final brutal showdown. Meanwhile, Janwon got in a car and chased after Roy and Yeo. Exhausted, Roy couldn't run anymore. He stopped, turned to Yeo, and confessed, "I've always loved you." They embraced under the moonlight. Then, screeching tires, Janwon charged at them with his car. With no other option, Roy grabbed a brick and hurled it at the windshield, forcing the car to a halt. He told Yeo to run for the police. "I'll hold them off." Ganon showed up, this time as an enemy. He and Roy clashed fiercely. Roy was outmatched, but his will to save Yeo gave him strength. He won, barely. Then, police sirens. Yeo had returned. They hugged, finally safe. By morning, SUA handed over all the evidence of Janga's crimes. Chairman Jang's empire crumbled, raided for corruption and bribery. Alone and desperate, he realized only SC Roy could save him now. Janwon landed in jail for good. SC Roy woke up in the hospital. The first thing he did? Hold Yeo close. Her mother was furious, but Roy apologized sincerely. That was enough. Yeo smiled. They walked out, together. Back at the restaurant, Chairman Jang appeared. SC Roy cooked for him himself, and with one bite, the old man's perception changed forever. Roy then announced, "We're merging Janga into our company." No more Janga. Humbled, Chairman Jang knelt. "I'm sorry. For everything." Roy forgave him, but the merger moved ahead. Jang's power, gone. Even Jun-Soo stepped away from ambition, choosing peace over power. From nothing but pain and betrayal, SC Roy rose with heart, grit, and an unshakable will. In the end, he didn't just win a company, he won love. A new chapter began, with Yeo by his side. The story ends here. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel for more videos. See you next time.